This segment of Hak5 is brought to you by Domain.com.
Hello and welcome to Hak5. I'm Darren Kitchen. I'm Kirby Kitchen. Yeah, she's not so happy with that. This is your weekly dose of Technolust, and if you haven't figured out, this is kind of a weird looking show. It's a little bit different than you might expect, but we have some awesome stuff this week because I just came back from South by Southwest, and let me tell you, that was an interesting conference. Got asked to speak there about protecting your data in a target-rich environment. It was so cool in that I was able to meet up with Adi Abdulkor as well as Chris from DoD.net, and it was really cool to just kind of geek out and have our own little mini HackerCon inside of South by Southwest and really take some of the stuff that Shannon was talking about previously about moving the SAM file to USB on Windows to create a second factor of authentication and do the same kind of thing in Linux. And I think you guys are going to really enjoy this because you kind of get to see the thought process and the brainstorming and the whole way in which a project like this is born. So I should though give you a little bit of fair warning in that this is a little bit experimental. Most of this has been shot on the Samsung Galaxy Note, so please excuse any inconsistencies with the frame rate and the aspect ratio and the audio. But otherwise, I think you guys will really enjoy this, and we'll be back next week in studio with a regular kind of episode. Thanks. So as you guys know, I'm at South by Southwest 2012 with all of the rest of the new media douchebags, but thankfully there are some cool hackers here, and we're hacking all the things and drinking all the booze. So what's up in 80?
Hello.
So we were just talking about the other night how Shannon did a pretty cool segment on Hak5 with syskey in Windows and moving the SAM file over to a USB drive. So in order to log into a Windows machine, you'd have to have a USB drive plugged in, and it kind of adds two factors of authentication, just password and the USB drive. And we started talking about Linux. So you want to kind of walk us through how the brainstorm went and what you got now, proof of concept wise?
Sure. So we were talking about if you can just grab the shadow file off of a Linux install and dump it to external media like USB drive or SD card, you can replace your shadow file with a symlink from the hard drive or your solid state drive to your remote media like your USB drive or SD card. And so basically then I started thinking well, how do I get access to that then? Because we're not going to be authenticated, right? The scenario is, or use case is, you walk up to your box, it's not logged in, and you don't want anybody to just be able to sit down and type a password in. You want a second factor, if you will. So so you have your USB drive, you want to plug it in, and therefore you would need it to auto mount, and then you get access to your shadow file, and away you go. So I just did it with UDEV, kind of similar to what I did in my anti-forensics talk at DerbyCon, and it works out really well.
So why UDEV instead of just FSTab?
Because I only gave FSTab one try off the top of my head. It didn't work on that shot, so I was well, I know how to do it in UDEV, so I'll just do that. So
nice.
FSTab might work, I don't know.
So what kind of parameters, can we take a look at the UDEV file?
Yeah, all right. So, well, first off, the reason that this works is because each device has a serial number associated with it. And so the serial number is what makes it unique, and that's what stops somebody from putting their own shadow drive on their own USB drive, walking up to your machine, popping it in, and going.
Yeah, because then they could just inject a user on their own SAM, and then it would be on your system, right?
Right, exactly,
well,
or shadow in this case.
Now, am I correct in assuming, though, that the USB drives, they have a vendor ID and a product ID that identifies it? Where are you getting the serial, and is it unique?
I believe that it's also off the hardware and also is unique. So what we've done is we've got two little SanDisk drives in here. They're tiny.
Yeah, you can barely see that guy. So you got one plugged in over there.
Yep, and one over here.
Plugged in over here. Cool.
Okay. So, and they identify as SDB and SDC here on the system.
Okay.
So what we've done is just an attribute walk and then grepped for the serial. And as you can see, these are both from the same batch off the machine floor from SanDisk. So, but as you can see, they each have a distinctive serial number. So that's going to allow us to specify particularly which USB device is allowed or which.
So now if somebody were to try to clone your drive, even if they were to use DD to get a bit-for-bit copy of your shadow file, they would still need the vendor ID, the product ID and the serial, and like where do you get that? Like can you even change that? Do you have to be a hardware manufacturer to do that?
Yeah, that's something that I don't know, and
Yeah, that's a good question.
Down the line, but yeah, like there may be some hardware hacks you can do to change how the serial.
Yeah,
identifies.
I guess you could like brute force the serial if you could change it in software, but it might be a while.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm pretty sure. I'm guessing it's a hardware thing. So
cool.
That makes it more interesting. So, anyways, we've got this other USB drive that's got our shadow file on it, and what we've done is we've gone ahead and set up a UDEV rule. So the 99 prefix is just stating that it's going to run at the very end. Yep. Yeah. So these are the attributes.
So action add, and then our address is ID vendor, so it's got to equal the same of your product. Okay, so your vendor ID and your product ID are right here and here, and they just set. Okay,
I've just basically grabbed additional attributes. You can probably just do attribute serial, but I was thinking like, what if?
You could even have it look for like a file, like a signature file.
I guess you could do
that.
that.
Even add more security,
Or you could specify like a separate script that does other things, like that runs on the host, without the removable media. That's kind of how my my anti-forensic stuff works for verifying USB drives.
Cool. So this serial part right here, this is what actually what we were just showing about the SanDisk cruisers. This is the serial that's making sure it is.
Yep, that's the unique identifier for us. So it's just kind of a couple other factors in there with the ID for the vendor and the product.
So if all of this is the action, so what is the run?
So the run is basically saying, like, once we've identified that this device is being added, what should we do? So like, what do? And the answer is to run bin mount, and then dev /dev/%k. %k is just the device that the kernel identifies as the device, so it would be something like SDB1 or whatever.
Okay.
And then we're going to mount that onto a mount point that we've already created, in this case, mount shadow.
Gotcha, and then we just go to shadow end, and then there's shadow end, and it's the end of the rule.
Right, and so that's just the UDEV rule itself, and then if you want to pause for a second, we can do a live demo. But
yeah, let's do a demo.
Okay.
Hak5's 11th season is here! And we are so happy to let you know that Domain.com has been sponsoring us for 3 years. They're our favorite domain registrar, and the truth is we couldn't be happier. Hak5.org is actually hosted there. And for new domain names, to add new domain names to your portfolio, to manage all your company's domains, dual hacking, Domain.com. I just told you about how awesome their virtual private servers are. And let me tell you, if you need to host your website, you can get up and running with like WordPress and Joomla. They've got like installs in seconds with tons of other cool, super easy to use open source software, and let me tell you, the women at Domain.com, yeah, they're fans of Hak5, and I'm not kidding. If you in fact tweet at Domain.com, their Twitter, you might actually find yourself hooked up with a cool new Domain.com t-shirt. I'm just saying, try it out. And don't forget, when you're at Domain.com buying your new domains, like I just did with chillouteffects.org, you can also transfer them if you're over somewhere else. Use the coupon code HAK5 at checkout. It'll save you an extra 15%. So when you think domain names, think Domain.com.
So Chris, you just mentioned kind of like an interesting idea. By the way, guys, this is Chris Mooney from DoD.net. What was your idea? Like an attacker gets physical access to your hardware?
Right. Well, we were talking about the serial numbers on the sticks themselves, whether or not somebody could cook the serial numbers to try and brute force plugging this thing in. But it turns out that if somebody were to actually grab the laptop, take your disk, mount it in another thing, they wind up seeing your UDEV config, they know where your shadow file is mounted, or they just blow your shadow file away. They put their own shadow file in.
You just remove the symlink and replace it.
Yeah, but that
with its own
assumes
shadow
that
file.
they get access to your hardware that is logged in.
Or no.
Because we're assuming that you're also running full disk encryption.
Yes.
Right, okay, yeah.
If you have full
yeah.
disk encryption, you have a protection.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So this is just like another layer. So do full disk, do like a plausible deniability thing just for fun at the border crossing, and then also have a USB drive with this, and then throw that on top of the stuff that you did at DerbyCon with the anti-forensics to blow out your hard drive if it's not there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can maybe sleep okay at night.
Right.
All right. Well, let's demo this. So the drive is not plugged in.
Right. It's not plugged in, and so this is all being done in the VM. So
it just makes it easier.
Yeah. Right. Because if I mess it up, I just
if you do this,
snapshot.
yeah, it would really suck to mess this up and then be locked out of your box.
Yeah. Whatever. So all right, so we boot the VM, and I guess while it boots, I'll bring up another caveat, which is UDEV is kind of slow, or it can be. So you might plug your device in and have to wait for a minute for everything to get recognized. But so here we've got our prompt.
Okay, so we're being asked to log in, and if this is Backtrack, I already know that the username's root and the password is Tor.
So here's our USB key.
All right.
Oh yeah, we should do that.
Oh yeah,
So
show that first.
Show that it doesn't work, right?
Okay.
So
wait for this to focus. So we're logging in as root. Come on, focus. There we go. And it did not work.
So yeah, because there is no shadow file to authenticate against.
All right, let's plug the shadow file in.
So here goes our USB drive.
And again, we have to wait though because UDEV isn't gonna. And that pop up right there.
That's just showing the drive being associated into the guest VM.
Yeah, that's VMware there. And since we're in the console, we can see the console output, and it's saying STB, the write cache and all that stuff. So it's
seeing the device, which is good. That's what we need. And so, like I was saying, like UDEV can be kind of slow. So we're at the login prompt, right? So if we try the login, it may not work. And if that's the case, we just give it another minute. All that means is UDEV hasn't run back around and mounted the device yet.
And maybe like FSTab, figure out what's going on with that. That might be faster. Now,
yeah.
Now, the other thing is you could probably put this in the init, right?
Put it in the init.
Yeah. So like on boot, hard code it instead of using UDEV.
Well, but see, UDEV is what recognizes that the device is being plugged in. So I'm not sure how I would go about doing it.
Well, you know what? You're right. Your way is better because this way you can pull out the drive. Go take a bathroom break.
Yes.
Come back and know that nobody else can F with your stuff.
So let's give it another shot. I would assume it should be mounted and ready by now. So here we go. We haven't touched anything. The drive is still in, and it logs in. So we've got access to our shadow file, and if we take a look. In the mount, we should see that mount shadow is actually mounted. So it is. There's dev STB1, that's our device, and it's mounted on the mount point of mount shadow. And then if we take a look at
LS the file system
at the actual shadow file, sorry.
No, it's all good. Okay.
We should see that it's just a symlink pointing to the shadow file on the mount point.
And of course, if we were to look at that, it'd just be garbage because it's a shadow file. But yeah.
So there we go. Like we're all set.
So that's proof of concept 0.1. Where's your GitHub, dude?
GitHub.com/int0x80.
Awesome. int80. And special appearance by Chris. Chris, where can people find DoD.net?
Just go to DoD.net.
All right. Later, guys.